is going on, Mile High City? Welcome back to Broncos Country News. I'm your host, Anchor Kill Malden. Finally, my camera's working with me again. My computer's working with me. My mic is good. All my equipment's working. I've been trying to get this video recorded for 3 days. Finally got this going. Now, I was originally going to make 2 videos with this because I had a lot to get to. But at this point, I'm like, screw it. We're going to get this all in one go. We have a lot to cover. So we're going to combine my final thoughts on the season with the news about the Broncos' new hunt for the GM. And yes, I do have a Drew Lock jersey. Yes, I'm going to get to that in a bit. So obviously the Broncos season is over. As we all know, we ended 5-11. Things did not go as we expected. But what are my thoughts on the season? So, the Denver Broncos, obviously, it didn't end the way we wanted to. We were hoping for a bit more this season, hoping for a year, maybe playoffs would be into the mix. That obviously did not happen. But I don't think this season has, nothing to build on. At one point I said I don't care about records anymore. I just want to see progression. I want to see guys getting better. And to be fair, I think we've seen some of that. Garrett Bowles especially was one who stepped up his game big time. Justin Simmons, and yes, Broncos fans, I know people freaking out right now. I think he's going to get a contract. I think that's going to be a whole topic on its own, but I think he's going to get a contract. I think they're just taking their time. They're going to wait to get their new GM. But I think Justin is going to get his contract. Because Vic and Elway said that they're still going to have input with the GM. He's going to have final say, of course. But obviously, they're going to tell the GM, yo, Justin Simmons is really, really good. He's a huge part of the defense. You got to get him signed. So, obviously, I think Justin's going to get signed. Shelby Harris, I hope he gets signed. But that's another discussion for another time. But in terms of our young guys, I liked what I saw from KJ. Cushenberry did get better. Yeah, he had his problems, but I think he did get better. Ojemudia showed a lot of promise. Jerry Jeudy showed some promise. I mean, his really only bad game was the Charger game. Yeah, he had some drops throughout the season, but he had a pretty solid season otherwise. He showed his route running ability, his solid catches, some of his speed, especially that 92-yard touchdown from Drew Lock in the next game. Speaking of Drew, I highly recommend you go watch Cody Rourke and Tim Jenkins. They broke down every one of Drew's games, and if you saw the tape, Drew actually has gotten better. He has progressed in terms of his mechanics and his throws. I do wish he'd cut down the turnovers, though, but I think with a full off season, that can be ironed out. And John Elway and Vic Fangio have pretty much hinted they're going to give Drew another shot, which, personally, I agree with that, because Drew is a really good kid. He's a really good quarterback. I think, at least he can be a good quarterback. He clearly works hard. He clearly wants it. He has talked about what if they bring in competition for him in the offseason. He said he is not going to fret from that. If he has to, he will fight through it, which I personally like. It shows that he's willing to work, that he is not going to just fret like certain quarterbacks would and just be like, man, they're bringing in competition. They don't like me. Actually, it looks like Drew's actually going to let this motivate him, which personally speaks, in my opinion, to this dude's mental ability. Because the fact that he is not going to let something like this get him off track, it's encouraging to see. And by the way, I'm just going to throw this out there, just get this out of the way. They're not getting Carson Wentz or Matt Stafford. Those contracts are so bloated, and the assets we'd have to give up are way too much, and we'd have to, if you take on those contracts, then you can say goodbye to Simmons regardless if you wanted to sign him or not. If you take on those contracts, say goodbye to Justin Simmons and Shelby Harris, even if you wanted them signed. Can't take them on with those bloated contracts, and the assets you have to give up, they'd be way too much for just one player. And I have seen the rumors of Deshaun Watson. Could he possibly come to Denver? I don't think the Texans are going to give him up, even though he might want to get traded. The Texans might honestly just run out his contract because the Texans love him too much, and he and J.J. Watt are their only pieces, and the Broncos have to give up way too much. And I know some people say, sometimes you do anything to get a deal done. No, that's just that GMs know you don't destroy your team's future for the sake of one player, because one player will not win or lose you games. Regardless of what fans may think, football is in the end a team sport. Yes, the quarterback can help make or break a team, but sometimes a quarterback also is not the main reason the team is winning or losing. Sometimes a quarterback can be look at Deshaun. He's played great for Houston, but they're still 4-12. And that's because that entire team around him is a broken, hobbled mess. And I remember watching Brett Coleman's video. It was the Jets Fan's Guide to Eternal Happiness, and I recommend you watch it. I'll put a link for it in the description below. It's about team building, not just getting one player. Even if that player is really, really good. And I love Deshaun Watson. I really like Deshaun, and I feel for the guy. I feel for Deshaun. But to me, no player is worth wrecking your entire future to get. There is no one player that's worth that, because then if that one player, if he gets hurt or it doesn't really pan out the way you hoped it would, congrats, you just destroyed your entire future and hope that this guy would work out. But that's just my 2 cents on little rant there. So with Drew, they've all hinted that they're going to give him another run back, and they're asking what this new GM could mean for Drew Lock. But everything pretty much indicates Drew's going to probably be the guy going into next year, which I agree with for one reason. Actually, a lot of reasons, but I agree with that. They're going to let this group grow. They're going to let it nurture. They're actually going to show some patience, which is the smart move to make, because the Broncos have lacked patience and consistency over the last few years. And I've mentioned this. I think what ruined Paxton Lynch and Trevor Siemian was that the Broncos were focused way too much on trying to squeeze what little was left out of that championship window from their defense, that they completely forgot to just let those guys develop. They didn't let them grow as quarterbacks because they were trying too hard to make them into win-now mentality. Siemian or Lynch weren't going to be that. If you really wanted to win now with that defense, which I would not have blamed you for, I'd have just gone out and got another veteran free agent like Peyton Manning. Granted, Peyton Manning is a once-in-a-lifetime type free agent, but you really wanted to win that bad, you would have just gotten another free agent. If you really put in Siemian or Lynch, you let them grow, let them develop. The Broncos got to do that with Drew Lock. They got to accept that, look, you could go you got to make the playoffs next year. At the very least go 9-7. Like, at least show that you're getting an above 500 record and making progress with Drew. But focus on letting this group grow. That has to be the Broncos' focus at this point. So then down along the line, once they've fully grown, then we can talk about being a contender. But that's just, of course, my opinion. I think they're doing the right thing with Drew Lock. They're going to let him grow, and they're giving him a fair shot. And if you're the new GM that the Broncos hire, it actually makes a lot of sense. I remember Benjamin Albright tweeted this out. If Drew Lock develops, and Fangio is the right guy, and this group grows, your job is simple. Just nurture the new core. Let this thing grow, and then it helps John Elway, and it helps the new GM. John Elway gets some credit for laying a solid foundation, but the new GM, you get credit for building this team and helping them reach their potential. It's like you get the credit because you helped them grow. You helped them reach that potential that we knew they could reach. If it fails, then it's no mark on your record. You can just blow this thing up and you can start new with your guys. It's that simple. But so that's why it makes sense as the new GM to let this group run it back. Give them a chance to evaluate. He might want to bring in his own guys, but if Fangio and Shermer and Locke are back, it makes sense to run it back. Maybe just keep investing in this current group. Keep looking at needs that you have in the draft. Broncos are currently picking 9th. Of course, everything's indicated that they're not taking a quarterback. So the top 2 picks that people seem to want right now are either Patrick Surtain or Caleb Farley, the 2 cornerbacks, one from Alabama, one from Virginia Tech. I would not be mad with either. I have seen that like maybe Fairley would fit more in the Fangio system, though I'm sure Fangio could coach up Patrick Surtain easily. So I'm not mad at either. That's just my opinion. That, of course, will come way down along the line when more draft stock comes out. If we could get either of those 2, I'd be psyched. But letting Locke and this team grow, I think, is the right move to make. Show some patience, because we have seen flashes of what this offense could be, what this team could be. I think that last game against the Raiders, we've seen what Drew Lock can do. We know what this offense can do. And to be fair, this offense has looked better with Drew Lock than it has ever looked over the last 5 years. I know that they've had bad games. I get that. But this offense has scored 30 points more with Drew than it ever did with Case, Joe, Siemian, Lynch, Osweiler. It's getting better. And I know it's hard to look at, but watch some of those film tapes from Rourke and Jenkins. Believe me, their work is great, and I'll put their channel links in the description below. This team is getting better. And if they let this grow, they let this develop, I think this could be something special. As for John Elway stepping down as GM, I know fans gave him a lot of flack, and he certainly deserved a lot of criticism. I had my criticisms of John, but I just want to say thank you to John Elway for all you did do as a GM. The Broncos did have a 50-14 record over a 4-year span with Peyton Manning. John did get us 4 consecutive AFC West titles. Actually 5 if you count Tim Tebow. He got us 5 consecutive AFC West titles. He got us some playoff berths. We won more playoff games over John Elway's stretch than we had before he came in as GM. We won more games with John Elway at helm as GM in the playoffs. We had 2 AFC titles, 2 Super Bowl appearances. We won a Super Bowl. Nothing's taken that ring away, Broncos fans. We can't forget that. Nothing takes that ring away. We won a championship. There is nothing to be mad about winning a championship. That's all there is to it. As a fan, I do appreciate John and everything he did. I know it wasn't perfect, and I know he did catch some flack for not being able to get quarterbacks and all that, but I appreciate all he did for this organization. Hopefully this new GM, they're looking at like Champ Kelly from Chicago, my bad. They're looking at Adam Peters from San Francisco. There was another name that was thrown in there. I forgot who it was. But a lot of these guys do know the Bronco brass. They know John Elway, so it looks like that they're going to have a good relationship, and Vic will at least have some part with this because they want to make sure he helps fit with the Denver style. Joe Ellis has announced he's stepping down as president next year, which, given the whole ownership situation, I am not surprised that that's going to happen. There's a lot to unpack there. And I think the Joe Ellis situation, I'm not going to make a full video on that yet. I'm going to let that grow and see what develops in the ownership position, and I'm going to see what happens there. But there's a lot been happening recently. I think the Broncos just got to keep letting this grow. Don't blow this up yet. Give it one more shot, which they seem to be doing, which I think is the right move. They're doing the opposite of what they would have done in the past few years, which makes a lot of sense. Again, if this grows, new GM, job simple. Just let this develop. If it doesn't, fine. It's no blight on your record. You can just blow this up and start over with your guys. Overall for the season, I thought that even though the record wasn't what we wanted, I think we did see some growth from players on this team. I think we saw some growth from the team as a whole. Next year, though, got to take that next step. And I'm going to break that down. I'm going to have videos out for like what I thought of the offense and the defense. Follow-ups later along the line. That's just, of course, my opinion, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Be sure to check out the tribute video for Floyd Little I made. The franchise, Floyd Little passing away. I made a tribute video for him. Rest in peace, Floyd Little. Happy to finally get a video out for you guys. Finally got my this stuff to work again. Thankfully, I'm back making videos. Anyways, that's it for me, guys. Please know your thoughts down in the comments below. Be sure to check me out on Twitter and Instagram. I'll put the links for that in the description below. Be sure to check out my blog where I do written extensions of this website. Be sure to actually check out my podcast. I'll have another episode coming out for the podcast very, very soon. Excited about that. Anyways, that is it for me. Anyway, guys, Broncos country, 303. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah.